if we change our vocabulary, then we'll change the way we see the world. If we change the way we see the world, we'll change the way the world is seen. Like we'll change what's going on in the world. We'll change how people communicate and interact in the world, because it will change the world. It all starts with changing ourselves, with changing the way that we think, with changing the ideas that we share, the ways we express ourselves. It all starts with us. This video is for Zubin Demanya. I apologize, Zubin. I don't do titles around here. And if you go and check out my channel, you might understand why. Anyways, I saw a video that you did with Dr. D'Angelo, and I thought it was pretty good. But at the beginning of that series, you said, if people are awake, get at you. And I am getting at you, brother. We got a big problem. We actually have a huge problem. In fact, my entire channel has been about this problem. So, please allow me to introduce myself. I am Just Conspiracy. Not solely, because obviously you couldn't have a conspiracy if I was solely Just Conspiracy. But we are Just Conspiracy. And I wish to create a better world for future generations than the world we all grew up in. And I hope, pray, and wish, desire that you get down on this conspiracy with us, brother. So just a few credentials and they'll pop up somewhere here or there. I don't know. They'll pop up in this video. But because you probably haven't ever seen my work before, the first video that's going to pop up is going to be judges, lawyers, and psychologists all orchestrate a money-making scheme, and this happened up in St. Louis, Missouri. The next video that's going to pop up is the Popo video, where the cops in St. Louis, Missouri showed up to Angela Freiner's house to execute an order to take her 14-year-old daughter, and it wasn't verified. And I'm just wishing to share the extent of the problems, so I'm making this as well-rounded as possible. Now, the third video that's going to pop up is going to be me explaining what court is and talking with a judicial officer. It's really good. It's one of my most coveted audios. And after that, the next video is going to talk about Valerie Owenby and her blind faith in the Creator's law, because that's really all I talk about. And then the last video to pop up here, there, somewhere, is going to be why a judge cannot judge you. And this might be a difficult concept to understand as an intellectual, as a doctor, because you see things like, well, lawyers went to school and they're intellectuals, they have a doctorate in law. I'm here to tell you that they don't know what law is anymore. And to exemplify this, I'm going to say, like, right now, I'm working on a case where they're talking about throwing a private contract out. No jury. Nothing. Just, here's a private contract between man and woman. Nope. We're not going to accept it in a court of law because law moves under contract. Okay? Not going to spend this entire video explaining that. But if you typically watch these videos to understand what I'm talking about, you might as well skip this, because this is just for you, Zubin. Anyways, if you know who Dr. Zubin is, I really hope and pray that you try and get this to him. Now, getting back to you and Dr. D'Angelo talking about becoming awake, becoming awakened, awakening. This is why I'm reaching out. Okay? Because right now, people are not awake. And people do not understand the language that they speak. So they cast spells of spelling with curses of cursive that sentence us to life sentences and leave us in a week days so much that we barely make it through the weekdays. And after the weekdays, we feel so weakened that we barely make it to the week's end. And awake is what happens every morning when I wake up. But morning is what happens when I go to a wake. Funny how all of that stuff happens, huh? Because it's all an allegory. We speak the language of the dead, yet we are living, which is why when we go to awake and we actually become awakening, we are witnessing our own death, the death of our own ego. And we watch the rebirth of the soul. Some creator that knows more than me gave us all. It's the only way I can explain it. But if you are awake or awakening, if you understand this entire idea that we're all one, that the entire universe is connected, that everything and nothing exists at the same space at the same time with no space and no time, then one thing that you're going to have to understand to fully grasp that concept is that if an injustice happens to anybody here on Earth, it's actually happening to you. And see, I got this t-shirt on because I've always been a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, and today's 9/11. And Larry Silverstein, he got paid $7 billion from the attacks on 9/11. Insurance money. Not debatable. Now, whether that was all profit or he had to pay for One World Trade to be rebuilt or whatever other expenses he had to pay for, that's debatable. You will see a lot of commentary about it online if you start looking this stuff up. But amazingly, back in 2012 when I was making these t-shirts, there wasn't that much commentary on it. That's kind of the story of my life. Get people talking, thinking, realizing. And you don't have to help us or support us in ensuring that everybody will have rights in the future. You don't have to make sure your children have rights. It's not something you have to do. Just don't be surprised when they take them all away. Because back when this happened, the way that I rolled is a friend of mine would go out to your neck of the neighborhood, Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco, and they would get about 3 to 5 grams of crystal, fly back over here to the East Coast, and we'd break it down into liquid. That's what I was doing when this all went down, if you get my drift. And this put a stop to those flights. It put a stop to that freedom of movement, what was going on at that point in time. And right now, we are faced with another crisis. Crisis of consciousness, like crisis of conscience. I don't care what you wish to call it. We're faced with another crisis, and that is the COVID crisis. So, while I have your attention, I hope I still have your attention. I hope you find this interesting. Let me talk about some things, because I've seen a lot of the stuff you produce. So, I see you and other doctors talk about, well, all of the data states, looking at the data, the science will tell you. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to say it right here, right now. The vaccines are the most safe, publicly healthy thing anybody can do. Because if you don't say that, YouTube will probably censor you. Anyways, I just like to stick with governmental data. And so I get this from the Public Health of England. This is published on the 3rd of September, 2021. Variants of concern and variants under investigation in England with COVID. Okay, and if we go down to page 21, it's going to say Delta case, under 50. So people who got the Delta variant who are under 50 years old, 420,689. 420, I like that number. Now, of that, unvaccinated were almost about half at 212,989. And that is people under 50. Now, people who were 50 and over, it was 71,107. Interesting numbers. And of the unvaccinated would have been close to 10% at 6,742. Now, if we go down to the next page, page 22, it has deaths within 28 days. So people under 50 would be 154 deaths, and of that would be 99 unvaccinated. Okay, so roughly roughly two-thirds of people who were not vaccinated died, who were under 50 years old, from COVID-19. Maybe. Anyways, for people who were 50 and over, there was 1,644 deaths, and unvaccinated was 437 deaths. Okay? But let's just think about this for a minute. See, people who are 50 and over, well, they probably have more of an F you kind of attitude, and their immune system and their life experience is probably built up a little better. Overall, you have 1,798 cases of COVID deaths, and 536 were unvaccinated. I don't know about you, but if you do the math, you come out to around 30% of vaccinated cases died. But the vaccines are incredibly safe and effective. And the other thing I wish to point out is that over in the UK, because this is a UK study, they pretty much had COVID-19 under control when they were administering the vaccines. And just look at what happened when the Delta variant came out. And I wish to have full disclosure. I just recently got over COVID about a month and a half ago. So I'm speaking from experience when I talk about some of these things. And I thought I was going to die 100%. I still wouldn't go get vaccinated. But vaccines are safe and effective, and everybody should go and get them. The other thing is that Israel arguably has the highest vaccinated population here on Earth. They also have the highest per capita confirmed COVID cases per day, per week.
As mass demonstrations continue against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the pandemic and his indictment on corruption charges. And with Israel now at the highest rate of new daily infections per capita in the world, many wonder whether the new measures set to take place are simply too little, too late.
I find that interesting. Is this data that I'm looking at, is it bad? Because if it's bad, I really, really wish for you to correct me. I really do. Because I'm a moron that never graduated high school. And I just wish to know if the information I'm getting is that correct. That's all I wish to know. I really hope you can help me on this endeavor. Anyways, I'll be sending this video right to you. But anybody else, if you're watching this and you know who Zubin is, I really hope that you send this video to him. Hopefully get his attention. I don't know what else I have to say. Except for the fact that if you doubt my integrity at all, go back over the past couple of YouTube videos I've posted. I'm willing to call out people in my own camp when I know them to be wrong. I hope this message reaches you, touches you, and you choose to join this camp. Because we're either all going to hang together or we're all going to hang separately. I'm telling you right now, this world, this society is incredibly scary, and it's incredibly scary because people don't understand and know law. You work in the medical field, and I've seen you produce videos about how the medical field is corrupted. Doesn't really work out that well. We shouldn't wait for government to fix it. I'm going to tell you right now, here's how you fix government. You bring back a true common law grand jury. A true common law grand jury are going to keep people in the courthouses held accountable. And if you have judicial accountability, you're going to have police accountability. If you have judicial accountability, you're going to have political accountability. And if you have political accountability, you're going to have corporate accountability. And if you have corporate accountability, the medical field will fix itself all on its own. Because it's natural. That's what natural law is. As far as being awake or asleep, I'm not an expert on it because I've never been asleep. But I can tell you this right now. If you don't get down with this idea, if you don't understand that we're all one, and people suffering in society is you suffering in society, then you're not awakened. You might be woke, but you're not awakened. You're not awakening. And as far as the vaccine mandates, if you watch the video about Valerie Owenby, she went to go swear out a warrant against a man who stuck his prick in her from the time she was 5 until she was 12. And if we as a society cannot make sure that justice and her rights are upheld in that case, then don't be surprised when the government mandates they stick a prick in you or your family members or the people you care about. And if the government does it, it's going to be all of our faults because we chose to hang separately than to hang together. We are just conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire with other good people of this planet to leave a better world for future generations than the world we all grew up in. One world, love, and peace.